Hey everybody, after 14 years of waiting, The Incredibles have finally returned to the big screen. Like every Pixar movie, this thing is packed with Easter eggs and references to previous Pixar films. So here are a few that we found, but let us know if we missed any in the comments below. But before we get started, gotta warn you, major spoilers ahead for Incredibles 2. First off, we have Agent Rick Dicker's interview with Tony. Agent Dicker was a character in the first film, played by the late Bud Luckey, also the voice of Eeyore.
Looks like fun. Wish I could have some.
In this film, he's played by Jonathan Banks, best known as that cop from Gremlins, and also Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad. The movie is a sort of reunion for Banks and Better Call Saul star Bob Odenkirk, who voices Winston Dever. And it may not be an Easter egg, but Dicker's name is extremely similar to Blade Runner Rick Deckard, who conducts interviews to determine if the subject is an android. The opening of this film felt very much like a callback to the Voight-Kampff test in Blade Runner. Tony ends up getting his memory wiped, a technology that was alluded to in the first film and shown in the short Jack Jack Attack. In the opening fight, several objects and signs around the city are references to Pixar staff. There's Domi's Deli. This is named after Domi Shi, who directed the amazing short Bao that preceded Incredibles 2. And there's a billboard for Christov's Bulgarian overalls. This is a reference to Bulgarian-born Anthony Christov, art director for Incredibles 2. And finally, the late Joe Ranft, who co-wrote Toy Story and voiced several Pixar characters, has a grocery store named after him. At dinner, the family is eating Chinese takeout from containers that might look familiar. This symbol has appeared in several other Pixar movies before, like A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Ratatouille, Inside Out, and now Incredibles 2. Bob is drinking from an Insuricare mug. This must be a memento from the dead-end job he was working after supers were made illegal. The motel where the family stays is called the Safari Court. If this hotel looks familiar, it might be because it's based on the Safari Inn, which has been featured in several films, including Apollo 13 and True Romance. Dever mentions that Gazerbeam and Phyros failed to save his parents, and we of course know why, because they were killed by the Omni Droid. Bob even hides behind Gazerbeam's corpse in the first film to evade Syndrome's probes, which is a really weird scene to include in a family film. Like, you would never see Ariel hiding inside a shark carcass to evade Ursula. But Mulan? Yeah, she'd go full Tauntaun. Also, the special red phones that Mr. Dever used to call the heroes are reminiscent of the red phone that Commissioner Gordon used to call Batman and Robin in the 1960s TV series. Speaking of Dever, the house he loans the Incredibles is based on Philip Van Damme's house in the Hitchcock classic North by Northwest. Dever mentions it was owned by an eccentric billionaire who liked to come and go unseen, and this billionaire was likely a super and perhaps killed by the Omnidroid. The tunnel that exits through a waterfall seems to imply a Batman-type hero, though the house itself looks a lot more like Tony Stark's Los Angeles mansion. Bob watches the real-life intro of the TV show The Outer Limits while he's up late with Jack Jack. The Outer Limits was an anthology sci-fi series similar to The Twilight Zone. The intro's line,
"We are controlling transmission,"
as well as the freaky hypnotic imagery, foreshadows the screenslaver seizing control of the city's televisions.
The screenslaver interrupts this program for an important announcement.
Which is also like the Joker in the original Batman movie.
Smiley.
When Bob is putting Jack Jack to bed, you can see a Luxo ball on the side of his crib. This ball appeared in the very first Pixar short, Luxo Jr., and can be spotted in several other Pixar films. Jack Jack is the only child voiced by the same actor as the original Incredibles movie. Supervising animator Tony Fusilli's son Eli provided the voice 14 years ago when he was just a baby. Now he's 16, but they're still using the recordings made for the original film. At one point, Jack Jack turns into a goo state, and this is actually one of the forms they wanted him to take while facing Syndrome in the previous film, but the animation technology wasn't up to it at the time. In several scenes, Jack Jack disappears into another dimension and Bob has to track him down. This is a reference to another Craig T. Nelson film, Poltergeist, when poor little Carol Ann is trapped in another dimension. Edna points out that Jack Jack loves Mozart, and this wasn't the baby's first time being exposed to the classical composer. In the short film Jack Jack Attack, his babysitter plays a variety of intellectually stimulating music for him, including the works of Mozart. The composer even gets a special thanks in the credits. The credits also feature Elastigirl's theme song that Dever sings early in the film. During Elastigirl's adventure in the city, there's a sign for Quest Enterprises. This is the business owned by Dr. Benton Quest, father of Jonny Quest, and the inspiration for the Venture Brothers. Jonny Quest is the other show within a show, as his cartoon appears later in the film. During the Metro-Lev grand opening, the speaker says that it can go up to ridiculous speeds, a possible reference to the movie Spaceballs. The sequence where Elastigirl stops a runaway train is very reminiscent of a similar action set piece in Spider-Man 2. She lands on top of the train just like Spider-Man and later duplicates his crash through a window. During the train chase, there are advertisements for Triple Dent Gum, which first appeared in the movie Inside Out.
Triple Dent Gum will make you The song from the gum commercial.
It also appeared in Cars 3 as a sponsor for one of the race cars. The name of the ambassador, Henrietta Selick, is a tribute to animator Henry Selick. Like Brad Bird and several other members of the Pixar team, Selick studied at the California Institute of the Arts. He's helped create stop-motion classics like The Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach, and Coraline. Afterwards on the news, they play a snippet of Elastigirl's documentary interview from the opening of the first film.
Leave the saving of the world to the men? I don't think so.
And there's an advertisement for an oven that at one point brags it's, quote, so simple a man can use it, which is a play on the many sexist advertisements from days of yore that bragged, even a woman can use this ketchup bottle. In the hotel where Helen is staying, there's a painting of several geometric shapes above her bed. Look closely and you'll see that each shape symbolizes a member of the Parr family and their powers. The Elastigirl figure is drawn far away, symbolizing her separation from the family during this film. When Elastigirl captures the fake screenslaver, he turns out to be just a pizza boy. This is a cool hint to a classic Pixar Easter egg, the Pizza Planet truck. This truck has appeared in every Pixar film except the original Incredibles. Now, I didn't spot this one myself, but according to YouTuber Shine on Media, you can see a 60s version of the truck outside the Pizza Boy's apartment when Helen escapes the explosion. But of course, the Pizza Boy was just a patsy, and the real villain was Evelyn Dever, whose name kind of sounds like Evil Endeavor. Get it? Get it?
Get it?
At one point, Evelyn says a pizza boy could be a villain because Einstein was a patent clerk, a callback to this moment in Ghostbusters.
Einstein did his best stuff when he was working as a patent clerk.
The Incredimobile's transformation into an aquatic vehicle is straight out of the James Bond movie The Spy Who Loved Me. A lot of the Incredibles films take their supervillain aesthetic from the Bond films, such as the volcano layer in the first film. The agreement to legalize superheroes is called the International Superhero Accords, which I think might be a play on the International Sokovia Accords that outlawed superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. During this battle, Dash has a remote control that will pull Mr. Incredible out of the water after he redirects the rudder. The argument about when to push the button is a clever copy of this scene with their parents in the original Incredibles. After the big action finale, Violet and Tony agree to a date, and there's a poster for the Happily Ever After dance on the wall. This is a cute reference to the classic line that ends traditional Disney fairy tales and implies that all will be well with the young couple. The movie they go see is called Dementia 13, a 1963 film written by Francis Ford Coppola and also his directorial debut. However, the letters and numbers in the marquee are arranged to make the title read A113, which is a classic Pixar Easter egg I'm sure most of you know about. A113 was an animation classroom at the aforementioned Cal Arts. It has appeared in every Pixar film and shows up several times in this movie, such as on the side of a dumpster when Frozone is recruited by Dever, it's the name of the edit room where Helen watches the screenslaver footage, and it's on the side of Dever's runaway yacht. Incredibles director Brad Bird was the first to use this Easter egg in the Family Dog episode of the 1980s TV series Amazing Stories. And finally, John Ratzenberger returns as Pixar's good luck charm to reprise his role as the Underminer. Ratzenberger has appeared in every Pixar film, and there's a hint that his character may return in The Incredibles 3, which at this rate would come out in 2032. In the end credits, one of the posters features the Underminer drill once again emerging from the deep. The Underminer is loosely based on the Fantastic Four villain, the Mole Man, first appearing in FF #1. It's fitting that he's one of the first supervillains the Fantastic Four face, and he's one of the Incredibles' first supervillains they face as a team. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed watching all those Easter eggs. Like I said before, please let us know if we missed any in the comments below. And if you're here for the first time, be sure to subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.